Hey guys, Oscar Combs here with ISO Certifications Group, and in today's video we're going to talk about ISO 9001 Clause 6.1, assessing risk of the Iran war that's going on. Have you guys really sat down and thought about your exposure due to the war that's going on? There could be things that you are vulnerable to that you haven't really analyzed. And, this is the purpose of your ISO certifications, guys, is so that, of course, for you to win your contracts and market yourselves as ISO certified. But this is the real purpose, is so that you can apply these principles, these requirements, they call them in the standard, but they're really just principles and best practices that we should be applying in our business. And 6.1 is no different. 6.1 is about your organization, all of our organizations, assessing risk, right? Risk-based thinking. And so this is the time that we want to really think about what's going on, what kind of supply chain bottlenecks are going on, what kind of cybersecurity threats are that could potentially impact our business. These things are like ripple effects. It could affect maybe not you directly, but you could be impacted indirectly through maybe one of your customers or one of your suppliers, your financial risk involved in this, regulatory changes that are going on due to this war. So guys, this is the purpose of 6.1, risk-based thinking. But when it comes to risk-based thinking, ISO 9001 says we should refer to 4.1 and 4.2. 4.1 is context of the organization, understanding our external and internal issues. The Iran war would be considered an external issue that could potentially impact your organization. Clause 4.2 deals with the needs and expectations of interested parties, things such as your employees, your suppliers, your customers. Are we meeting their needs and expectations during this time, right? And making sure that we can still meet their needs and expectations and not have a negative impact due to the war that's going on. So let's talk about a couple steps that I believe can help you as this war is going on. And these risks are every day, they're increasing due to the length of the war, right? Because now the adversary is thinking of or trying to consider alternative ways to retaliate, right? So I do ask that you first identify specific risks due to your organization, right? Due to this war. So sit down with your teams and really think about what kind of exposure do we have due to this war. Everybody has a level of exposure. You may think, oh, that's not impacting us. We're just a small machine shop, or we're just a software company, or no, this is impacting you. You just need to sit down and really think about it and analyze it. They shut down the port, the Strait of Hormuz. A lot of cargo goes through there. Surely that's impacting a lot of U.S. organizations. Your raw materials, causing delays on receiving things. Your supplier may be outsourcing and ordering from another supplier that's providing material through that port. So we just need to be mindful and just think about that. If you don't know, go talk to your suppliers, people in your supply chain. There could be issues with energy prices that are going on. Man, I know just last week, about 2 weeks ago, a gallon of gas was all the way down to $2.50, but now it's all the way up to $3 here in Texas today. So surely every time the price of oil goes up, it is impacting, driving up all other costs. So manufacturing cost, the cost of any petroleum derivatives, All these things, guys, are impacting you. We need to be thinking about it, put things in place. Cyber attacks we talked about, right? We don't want to be impacted by that. That's one of the worst things. Ransomware, they lock down all your files, or they go in and go through your server trying to access. Maybe you have government contracts. We don't want that information to be exposed, but this is the time where they will go and try to find a small company where they think maybe they have a government contract, but they think you don't have all the security protocols in place like a big company would. But even the big companies get hacked, right? We all have had all of our personal information exposed, even by big companies. So, guys, that just shows that if one of the adversaries, let's say such as Iran, they really want to tap into your network, they can do it if you don't have these controls in place. And there's been a lot of regulatory changes going on due to the war, right? So you want to make sure that you're in compliance and in conformance with all regulatory things. There's been sanctions placed on certain regions and countries at this moment, and maybe you do business with one of those countries, or maybe your suppliers do. So you need to be mindful of that. You don't want to be having any of those issues. The next thing is that you want to determine the potential impact and the likelihood of the impact, right? So let's say you feel like, hey guys, we are likely to have a cyber attack. Well, what would be the impact of that? Is it a high impact? Is it a medium impact, low impact? What's the probability of that? Is it 1%? Is it 15%, 50%? Like, you need to sit down and really analyze that. What is the impact and probability of our supply chain being impacted? Is it high, medium, low? The probability, is it 100%? Well, we better get into action right now if it's 100%, right? Is it 50%? Is the impact very high? Even if the impact is very high, probability very low. If the impact is high, you need to be on that, right? So these are the things that you should be going through your risk register right now, analyzing, looking at your impact analysis, looking at your probability analysis. Make sure that is accurate. And if it's high, or if it's a high probability or high risk, you need to really make sure you do a review of those risk mitigations, or maybe put some additional barriers in place. Next thing I would say is to really start planning actions to address the risk. It does no good to look at your risk register and you see something says high and a high probability and you don't do anything, right? It's not just a paperwork exercise. This is not just about spreadsheets, not about your audit or your auditor. It's not about just your certificate, guys. This is real. And we need to start taking it serious. You need to look all of those risks on your risk register. They represent real risks that you should be working to mitigate. Supply chain risk, cyber risk, energy costs, compliance risk. We need to be on that, guys. And then we need to integrate and implement those actions into our QMS, into our policies, into our procedures. Does no good for us to recognize a risk as high probability, high impact, and the procedure has not been adjusted to accommodate for that, right? We may say the control is to do X, Y, Z to mitigate the risk, but the control has not been implemented, has not been written into procedure, has not been written into our day-to-day process. We need to get those procedures updated. We need to get people trained. We need to get people briefed and oriented on what's going on and the potential risk and the risk mitigations that are in place or that need to be in place. And then the standard requires for us to evaluate the effectiveness of those actions. So again, does no good for us to say, okay, this is our risk mitigation and this is what we're doing, but no one is monitoring or evaluating if it's actually controlling the risk. Are you doing any testing? Are you doing any emergency response? Right? This is the time. Why should the adversary come in and test your lack of preparedness? No, you test it. Make sure you're happy with it. So when they come and try to attack, that they're hit with the barrier, right, that you've already thought about. Or when your supplier that's impacted due to these issues that are going on in Iran, they come to you and say, hey, we're going to be late due to this. Well, you already have a plan B in place, right? Why do we have to wait and for the negative impact? Let's have foresight. We don't have to just depend on hindsight, guys. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and I hope that your organization, I know we are, really analyzing our risk at this time and really making sure you have things in place to mitigate those risks. Hey guys, I do ask that you subscribe to our channel, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, please. We want to hear from you. Oscar Combs here with ISO Certifications Group, certification made in America. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye now.